Welcome to Diligent Canine, and in this reflections video I'll do a two-part video talking about alpha roles as well as what I think is the biggest mistake that I've made in dog training. The reason I wanted to do this video as a two-part series is because the areas I'm going to talk about really overlap with each other and they have a lot to do with each other. So they really tie in, they have a lot in common. You'll see a lot of common themes in there. So let's get started then with talking about alpha rules. Now this is the very opposite end of this spectrum of purely positive training. And depending on when this video drops, I may or may not already have one out on what I feel are the limitations of a quote-unquote purely positive training model. But for this video, we're talking about alpha rules. So this idea comes from the notion that you should be in charge of your dog, that you should be the sort of commanding officer, that your dog should diligently obey you and sort of bend to your will. And that is all well and good, but the method that it is taken up is often what's problematic. So in the olden days, you'll hear people talk about yank and crank methods, a lot of compulsive or avoidance types of measures. So this is, if you watch my videos on learning theory, this is where people are applying aversive stimulus, overwhelming sometimes aversive stimulus in the dog, trying to get the dog to perform a behavior to then stop the stimulation, be that an e-collar, an ear pinch, or leash pressure, something like that. And those are still tools that can be used, but they shouldn't be, in my opinion, they shouldn't be the only tools that you're using. So where the idea of alpha rolling comes in is that and this is a theory, that you need to be the alpha of your dog. You need to dominate your dog, which you need to assert absolute control. And to me, that idea stems from a weakness in you as a handler, in you as a person, because that's going to have pretty obvious, pretty immediate, and pretty long-lasting effects on the relationship that you have with your dog. If you're lucky, you'll have a dog that walks around out of fear and obeys out of fear from you. And I don't know if that's the type of relationship that you want with your children or your friends, but it's going to be the one that you have with your dog if this is the model that you take up. So that doesn't sound good to me. I would much rather have a dog that is willing and eager and has a true desire to want to bond with and obey and interact with me, rather than one that is doing so out of fear. You can tell this really obviously. There are lots of videos out there on the internet that you can watch, and you can see it when dogs are performing obedience, if they're kind of like slouched and not really enthusiastic about the work that they're doing, or it doesn't even have to be work or a sporting environment, just dogs that are walking on a leash and they just look like they're being punished, and like even something that's supposed to be enjoyable, like a walk on the leash, just seems like it takes so much effort that they're just miserable. That is a very different picture than a dog that is like bouncing and prancing when it's doing a very strict healing routine or something, where that's where the demand is very high, and the dog is not stressed, is very much and very obviously enjoying themselves. So that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you're going to get hurt really bad trying to quote-unquote alpha roll your dog and doing things like picking him up and trying to manhandle him, or something abusive like throwing the dog, or even flipping them over and pinning them on their back. You're forcing that dog into a really defensive situation, and there are some TV trainers that do this, and it's a really bad idea, because people are going to get really hurt. They're going to get hurt really bad. So you might be able to manhandle your 2-pound Chihuahua, but if you think that's the way that you're going to interact with a 70-pound, 80-pound shepherd, you got another thing coming. Particularly if that dog has any kind of nerve or hardness or any desire to defend himself at all, you're going to find yourself in a really bad situation, needing several stitches and have some broken bones, if not permanent scarring on your body. And I mentioned at least one TV trainer that I know of that encourages people to do this. And the problem that I have with that is that particular trainer has lots of skill and has worked with far more dogs than I probably ever will. And that is great that he can see and read the signs to be able to avoid injury with the dogs. The problem is people watching the show do not. So they're learning these techniques that they don't understand the ramifications of. They don't understand the potential danger and those subtleties to watch out for to avoid injury. So just to wrap things up, alpha rolling your dog, first of all, it's damaging to the relationship with your dog. Second of all, it's not necessary for training your dog to get the behavior that you want. Avoidance methods or aversive methods for training have their place in certain situations, but when we're talking about being demeaning and punitive to your dog, you're alpha rolling them, that is something entirely different. It's not necessary at all. And third, it will have a pretty damaging effect on your relationship with your dog, which is going to pour into all aspects of your life with your dog. So not just obedience, but your daily living and how the dog interacts with you and other people and other dogs. Don't do it. Alpha rolling is bad, and it's and when I say bad, I mean it's harmful to the dog, it's harmful to you, almost certainly, and it's harmful to the relationship between both of you. So, thanks for watching Diligent Canine. Remember to support military and working dogs by subscribing on patreon.com/diligentcanine, and stay tuned for part 2.